respondent is Professor Pinchas Roth. Pinchas is a senior lecturer in the Talmud department at Bar-Ilan University. His work focuses on the history of Halakhah, particularly during the Middle Ages in Western Europe. And his recent work has focused particularly on responsa from Provence, England, and Northern France. He will be speaking on Halakhah and Sefer Hasidim.
Did you see the door?
Rabbi Rana demonstrated that the author of Sefer Hasidim did not define Halakhah. The weight he attributed to various aspects of the law, the ways in which he privileged some commandments and ignored others, emphasized some prohibitions while passing over others without comment, are not dictated by the formal considerations that can be found in the voluminous rabbinic literature of medieval Germany. Rather, they reflect the challenge that the Hasid encountered in the performance of these commandments. Reiner's point sits nicely with a comment made recently in passing by David Shailovitz, the end of his article on Kaddish Yatom, that Sefer Hasidim does not maintain the distinction between Halakhah and Agadah, narrative and law, which runs through most normative rabbinic writing. At the same time, there can't be any doubt that Sefer Hasidim, the author of Sefer Hasidim, was versed in rabbinic literature and in halakhic methodology. In fact, as Chaim Soloveitchik and Yisrael Tashmi taught us decades ago, Sefer Hasidim contains a cogent and accurate critique of the way in which the Talmud was studied in the academies of Northern Europe. And I think Rami quoted the passage where Sefer Hasidim mentions the dialectic of Balei Tosfot. Such a critique could only have been leveled by someone intimately familiar with those yeshivot and with the texts studied within them. The substance of that critique was that the yeshivot had become too elitist, privileging intellectual acuity over personal piety, and even over broad familiarity with the primary sources. In place of studying Talmud with the works of the Tosafot, Sefer Hasidim suggested devoting attention to halachot gedolot. This is an example, Ashkenazi manuscript of halachot gedolot. Halachot gedolot, attributed by Ashkenazic tradition to Yehudai Gaon of 8th century Babylonia, provides a detailed summary of Talmudic law in the same Babylonian Aramaic as the Talmud. While it is not the easiest book to read, with a somewhat convoluted structure and a dense text, Halakhot Gedolot is a practical work which aims to present legal rulings without delving into scholastic dialectic. For this reason, it received the imprimatur of Sefer Hasidim. Here I'd like to present one fairly straightforward example, and I really don't think I'm saying anything revolutionary, of the way in which Sefer Hasidim internalized Halakhot Gedolot as its guide to normative law. And my example comes from a realm of practical law, in which Sefer Hasidim betrays an abiding, though not obsessive interest. So, I disagree with Rami slightly, not very much, because it's about food. While food was not one of his obsessions, it's definitely a topic that comes up again and again throughout the book in different contexts. So kosher food, and specifically I'm going to speak about treifot, that is animals with terminal medical problems. The problems of treifot come to light by their very nature only in kosher animals which have already been slaughtered in full accordance with the Halakhah. The examination of internal organs, like the lungs, can only be conducted after the animal is dead. Therefore, the financial risk is particularly high, since the kosher butcher has already invested in buying the animal and paying the slaughter. And various historians have pointed out some of the dynamics that this creates. If the meat was determined to be forbidden, it could no longer be sold to Jews, and the only way in which the butcher could recoup losses was by selling it cheaply to Christians. Thus, the realm of treifot is a perfect fit for the halachic interests of Sefer Hasidim as Reiner has described them. It occurred regularly in everyday life, and the temptation to gloss over, to explain away an indication of treifot as an innocuous anomaly, was tangible and intense. One indication of the place occupied by treifot in the religious worldview of Sefer Hasidim is the following line found towards the beginning of that's the edition of Sefer Hasidim. Halei yudchet yirat Hashem keneged yudchet minei treifot. Right, the Talmud talks about 18 types of treifot. Lomar afilu notlim chayav, right? Yudchet chayav. Al tinrod lemי שנביטו מחייב. So the concept of fear of God appears 18 times in this biblical passage that it's discussing, in correspondence with the 18 different types of treifah identified by the Mishnah. This numerical correspondence was interpreted by Sefer Hasidim as a matter of life and death. The 18 treifot are fatal medical conditions, which would have led to the death of the animal if it hadn't been killed first. Sefer Hasidim smoothly links this to human life, the life of a Jew performing his or her religion under the threat of death, and the life of all people in the hands of God. Treifot stands as a metaphor for life and death and for subservience to God. So that's the big one. Now, one of those many treatises that have been mentioned before within Sefer Hasidim is devoted to the laws of Treifot. Right? In Yonei Shchita v'Tahara Ufrishut. I'd like to briefly discuss two passages. One of them appears in that treatise and another appears somewhere else, which reflect a practice whereby the lungs of the slaughtered animals were tested for treifot by being inflated. And if that sounds a little bit strange, picture. As we'll see in a minute, this isn't quite the way Sefer Hasidim. One of these passages describes an outstanding individual. The story about a butcher who had many reeds. When he removed the lung, he would insert a reed into the end of the lung and inflate it. He had many reeds, small and large, to fit the tube of the lung. They asked him why. He answered that sometimes the mouth of the lung is covered with blood, and perhaps the lung would become shoved into his throat and the blood would get into his mouth. And it says in Ezekiel, no unclean meat has ever entered my mouth. It doesn't say I didn't eat any unclean meat, but it didn't even come into my mouth. If the blood would have come into my mouth and it turned out that it was from a non-kosher animal, that would really be bad. Now the other passage, which as I said is within that treatise on treifot, suggests a slightly different solution. A certain person was miserly, he's a bad guy. He would inflate the lung, and blood was on the mouth of the lung, yet he would not cut off a little bit of the lung. He said to him, because of your miserliness, you will bring blood into your mouth. It is not right to do this. So in this passage, a different solution is suggested to the problem of blood on the lung, right? Instead of using the tube, he says you should cut off a bit. The thrust of the passage, though, is of course moralistic. The butcher maximized his profit at the expense of the proper degree of caution. Yet even this character, who cuts corners instead of cutting his meat, was scrupulous enough to inflate the lungs. Such an examination for Sefer Hasidim was self-evident. Right? It comes up in the story about the good guy, but it also comes up in the story of the bad guy, even he's doing it. In the Halakhah literature, however, it's not so self-evident. In the Orient, in Spain, external examination of the lung, in other words, cutting out the lung and inflating it like we saw in the picture, was never adopted as a matter of course. Even in Germany, as far as I understand, and I'm following the research of Moshe Amar, we do find such an examination as a matter of course for every animal that's slaughtered in the 11th century, but afterwards it disappears. It makes a comeback towards the end of the 14th century and then into the modern period. It appears, for example, in the writing of Halakhah, as it does in most other halachic works, as the way to investigate a lung that has aroused suspicions. In other words, if there's a problem, then you can inflate it to check. But if there isn't a problem, you just have a standard lung, you don't do that. Whereas our stories in Sefer Hasidim reflect the fact that this is what they're doing all the time. And you can see I emphasize the passages where it really describes that technique of using a tube to inflate the lung. But there is a source for this practice. A number of Ashkenazic and French authorities quoted Halakhah as having ruled that the lungs of a slaughtered animal must always be inspected. Now, this passage in Halakhah, that's the one here, is a late addition. So from the perspective of scholars of Halakhah, this doesn't even count. That entire section was added to Halakhah based on Shuvot Yoni. And then there's a different passage, which is also a late addition to the Halakhah, and is found only in Ashkenazic manuscripts. It's one of the only sources that I have found so far that explicitly mentions that reed that's been used to inflate the one. Right? So we have the Shoferet Shel Kaneh and Machlis Kaneh Shel Le'ah. To summarize, inspection and inflation of the land appears in Sefer Hasidim as a routine practice. Right? As I said, not in response to a particular problem that's arisen. We're afraid that the lung might not be kosher, so we're going to check it, but rather it's being done to all the lungs. Now, this may be a holdover from 11th century Ashkenazic practice, in which case it would illustrate that, again, the conservatism of Sefer Hasidim, the kind of attempt to go back to an older Ashkenazic tradition. I'm not convinced of that, but on the face of it, it might be true. And the specific practice of inflating the lung through the use of a reed stems from the author's familiarity with and commitment to Halakhah. So here we see it on the level of a specific practice and a specific text. But as we saw at the beginning, this is really a reflection of his whole approach to religious law, how it should be learned, and how it should be practiced. So for Sefer Hasidim, this practice had become self-evident, and it then became the basis for his trademark probity and critique of the possibly self-serving motivation of even the ostensibly righteous.